What's up, family? It's your girl D Ray, the Divine Relationship Alchemist, helping you heal your relationship with self to heal your relationship with others. Going live to discuss the art of surrendering or how to surrender, why we should surrender. It is not my intention for this to be a long video. I just want to get in, get out, and hey, move on. I am at this Hindu temple in Houston. It's beautiful scenery. I'm gonna let y'all just check it out while I'm waiting on y'all to come into the chat room. It's beautiful. I'm doing more than one thing, as I'm sitting here. One, enjoying some sun while we still have it. All right, the sunlight is a source of nutrients. Y'all already know that. I'm being fed by the sun right now. Tapping into some childlike spirit. Look at the symbols they have on this. So that's pretty dope. Peace, one Miss Loving Life. Peace, sis. Glad to have you here. Sitting at the temple right now, enjoying this beautiful scenery. And we're going to talk about the art of surrendering, or how to surrender, why you should surrender, and kind of what came to mind for me this morning as I was meditating, and how I was able to use it instantly. Before we get into it, I'm going to read. All right. Hey, Ina Sanders. I haven't seen your name in the chat room lately, sis. You got to come back, okay? But thank you for being here right now today. Before I get into the video, just to give people more time to come in the chat room, hopefully they have the time. Hopefully they have the time at work. About to pull my chair to the window and enjoy it. Oh, man, this sunlight is amazing. It's so good. Feed yourself with the sunlight. You don't even need actual food if you can get out in the sun. So I'm enjoying it. But before I get into it, I'm going to read just a little bit of this book. It's Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender by David R. Hawkins. And it is so good, y'all. It basically just describes how we have to release ourselves from, you know, who we think we are, what we think we know, and allow ourselves to just be present, to be the spiritual beings that we really are. He basically goes into detail explaining how oftentimes we are ran by our egos, which we know that, and the thoughts, the perceptions, the beliefs that we have are mostly external, right? How is having this job going to lead me to be perceived? How is having this car going to affect the way people see me? It's about our care for others, right? And how others perceive us. So we have to surrender. We have to surrender all of that. We have to surrender our egos, essentially, and come back to peace within ourselves, come back to knowing within ourselves. And so, to allow some more people to get in, I've just opened up a page and I'm going to just maybe read, hey, I'm going to just read maybe a paragraph or two and hope that you all enjoy, hope that you can hear me. Let me know in the chat room if y'all can hear me clearly. What's up, New Beginnings, Read? Live long and prosper. Yes, peace, 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 peace. All right, so let's read this real quick. It says, in acceptance, we are free to be in the present. Once we have accepted our own true nature and the ways of the universe as they are reflected in our world, there is no longer regret about the past, nor there's fear for the future. Fear of the future is no longer exists when the past has been healed. This is because in the usual ego-oriented state of consciousness, the ego tends to project the past upon the future, and a past that is viewed negatively becomes fearful when projected upon the imaginary future. Our letting go of the lower energies of guilt, fear, anger, and pride has alleviated the weight of the past and cleared the clouds of the future. We face today with optimism and are grateful to be alive. We see that yesterday is gone, tomorrow has not yet come, and we have only today. In summary, then, the consciousness level of acceptance is one that we all long to achieve. for it enables us to find freedom from most of life's problems and to experience fulfillment and happiness. That was a perfect little opening segue to this conversation. Thank you, Ina, for confirming to me it was clear. Hopefully, y'all were able to just hear this last paragraph that I just read in this book, Letting Go. Thank you. So basically, what he just said in that letting go is that our ego oriented consciousness leads us to negatively judge our past, and we project the past onto the future, right? But when we heal the past, now there's nothing to project into the future, right? Like things are clear. We are optimistic. Anyways, let me get to the topic, how to surrender, why you should surrender. So what I've been noticing, and I'm sure we've all had these experiences of, being in our heads, thinking too much, and just always trying to figure something out using our conscious mind. All right. And so I just realized that that can kind of be tormenting, right? Even when we have these different emotions and these different triggering experiences, a lot of the times what we have is resistance. We don't allow ourselves to just be in the experience, right? We attach our whole being to these experiences that we are in. And I just realized that there's really an art to surrendering and to accepting everything that happens and just knowing that it's all a part of your growth, it's all a part of your matriculation as you are on this spiritual journey. And so as I was meditating today, I was just meditating on the word surrender, and then naturally something happened to where I just separated the two words, and it was sure ender, right? Sure ender, surrender, right? So a sure way to end these ego thoughts, these rants that go on within our head as we're having these experiences. There are two ways to surely end them, right? And I'm pretty sure there's more. I didn't read it in this book. What I'm telling you right now is what came to me in meditation, right? So sure enders, ways to end when we are in a consistent mind rant, right? The thoughts are just going. Right? And the reason why this is not healthy is because you'll be having thoughts that you actually don't want to manifest, right? And you're just following those thoughts down this rabbit hole, this unhealthy rabbit hole. This is the same thing with meditation and why meditation is so important. You have to meditate so that you can realize when you're getting in those moments of following thoughts, right? But one way or two ways that we can do this is to surrender, right? Sure ender. Two ways to do it. The first thing that came to mind about surely ending these thought rants or these emotional experiences, one way to surely end them, to surrender to them, is to release the resistance. A lot of times we are perpetuating these experiences because we resist even having them. Okay? Little family walking by. We resist having the experience, y'all. We be like, why am I feeling this way? Why am I thinking this way? Why are these thoughts in my head? And what's happening is we are adding more fuel to that fire. We are feeding those thoughts our energy. We are feeding these emotions our energy when we resist them, right? So one way to surely end the emotions, one way to surrender the emotions, one way to let go of the rants of thoughts that is going on within your head is to release the resistance to them. Essentially saying, let them be. Allow yourself to have the experience, whatever it is. If you're going off in a thought rant, just go on a thought rant, right? Don't judge it. Release the judgment, right? When we do that, something magical and spiritual happens, and it just stops on its own. Peace, Philip Boom, right? Something magical naturally happens when we release the resistance to even being in the experience. Excuse me. Okay? Resistance. Next time y'all are like having all of these thoughts, maybe you're trying to plan what you're doing for the day, or maybe you're trying to, maybe you're in a discussion with a partner, a family member, or a child, or anybody, and You're just thinking, right? You're just thinking. And then you realize that you're thinking and you're like, oh, why am I in my head like that? I want you to acknowledge and recognize that, right? Recognize what resistance actually is. And on these spiritual journeys, we want to follow the path of least resistance. So if you are experiencing anger, if you are experiencing jealousy, envy, whatever, don't resist it. It's just an experience that is only happening for a moment. But when you resist it, you feed it, you fuel it up, and you expand that thing, right? Because what do we say? Energy goes where attention flows. Love you too, family. Love you too, right? Energy goes where attention flows. Thank you for being here, all of y'all, right? So when you start thinking about why are you thinking like this, and this is not to say that you don't have to do some self-reflection. You, of course, have to do self-reflection, right? You have to reflect on the thoughts that you are having, but it doesn't happen in that exact moment like that. And when I'm talking about resistance, I'm talking about the judgment that you have towards the experience, right? You're not just letting it be. I told y'all, like, seriously, I be realizing sometimes when I'm getting annoyed, and I be like, okay, I'm annoyed. And I'm not going to try to fight that and be like, okay, don't be annoyed. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Because that's resistance. That is resistance. That's not surrendering. That's fueling up my ego. That's making my ego really feel like this experience is bigger than what it is. And it's really not. Rather than having the experience, and then before you know it, boom, it's gone and it's done. So it doesn't have any power. But when we resist it, then we're giving this thing power. We're saying, this is something that I don't want to experience, but because you are emotionally attached to the experience, you inevitably have to continue having the experience. All right? But when we, acknowledge the presence of it and we don't attach any emotions to it, we don't resist it. All right. We don't resist it. And I love who is that? Jermaine Atkins. I love what you said. Mistakes are divine in 2020. Mistakes have been divine. Mistakes have been divine because you have to have that experience in order for you to reflect on where you need to go, and what you need to do and how you need to be transformed. And then when the experience happens, you move differently, you respond differently. But we are still in our egos when we are, feeling anger and we say, oh, I'm not gonna be angry. That's still ego, y'all. That is very much so still being in your ego. But you overcome it and you surrender your ego when you say, okay. And what's going to happen is that whatever the feeling is, whatever the thoughts are, they're going to come and they're going to pass by just as well as there are no clouds in the sky. So I have no examples for you. Just as quick as a cloud will come up, cover the sun, and then move on. That's what's going to happen. But when we resist, we're adding more fuel to that fire. All right, we're adding more fuel to that fire. Yeah, y'all go ahead and like the video. I just looked up. Like the video. Like the video, y'all. Like this video so that more people can see it. What's up, Flex Washington? What's up? Yeah, I made a mistake yesterday, but it turned out helping me. Man, all of the mistakes that we make or the missteps that we take are always leading us to greater, higher levels of consciousness. That's what's happening, right? When we accept them, when we don't resist them, when we don't judge them. So a sure way to end that is to release resistance, right? If we don't want to continue perpetuating the same thing, we can no longer judge whatever experience we're in. Surrender to it. Okay, I'm feeling annoyed, and that's okay. You want to know why? Because I know in a minute or two, it won't even matter. It won't even matter. Something is going to change. Something is going to shift to where I'm no longer having those feelings, those emotions. All right. But when we think about how we're feeling over and over and over again, then we stay in that lower consciousness, lower vibrational state of being, right? The second way to surely end The second way to surely end and to surrender, okay, is to try to find that place of peace and presence, right? So this is what we're talking about when we're always talking about the power of now, the power of now. And so some ways that I was testing myself with using the power of now when I realized that I was going into a mental rant, when I realized that I was being emotionally triggered. Some ways that I did this was just stopped and listen to whatever music I heard or whatever sounds that I heard or what am I seeing or what am I smelling, right? I started to stimulate my senses, right? When you stimulate your senses on purpose, you bring yourself out of your head and into the now. I want y'all to try this. I really want you to try this when you're in a mental rant or when you are being emotionally triggered or when you are meditating. Come back to what you are hearing, come back to what you are seeing, come back to what you are smelling, come back to what you are tasting. This will immediately snap you out of that, right? Also understand you have a choice to practice these things. You have a choice to practice these things. It's not something that we just get because I'm talking to you about it or because I read about it. It's something that must be practiced. So whenever we are having the experiences, hell, your kids can be annoying you and you love those boogers like you love your kids like nothing that you've ever loved in life and they can annoy you, right? But bring yourself back to that place of peace, that place of understanding, and you can do this by tapping into your senses, right? I want you all to also try this. You know, you can try it now, you can try it later. Definitely it happens during meditation. But there's this presence, there's this energy, there's this stillness that's right behind your thoughts. And it's something that you just sense. You just feel it, right? You just feel it. It's just a feeling. Y'all let me know in the chat room if you know what I'm talking about. If you've ever just felt this peaceful presence that was not attached to the thoughts that you were having, right? That was not emotionally engaged with the fact that you are triggered, right? Who's ever felt just like that stillness? I just felt it even in that glimpse. You just have to feel it. And you felt it before. You felt it before. And that's the place you want to always go back to when you are having all of these things going on, right? When you're just trying to figure out life, when you are emotionally triggered, when you got a lot going on and it's chaos and you're trying to bring order back into your life, or you know, when you got all of these goals and these desires that you want to manifest and you're like when it's going to happen and you're pushing or whatever the situation may be. What's up, Shinigami? Whatever the situation, and Mika, what's up, sister? Whatever the situation may be, that peaceful presence is there for you. It's there for you, right? And it is a choice for you to tap into it. It is a choice for you to decide there's something within me that is so much greater. There's something within me that is beyond this experience that I'm having, that is beyond these thoughts that I'm having. And I choose to tap into that space, right? It's a sure ender. Deciding to tap into that space surely will help you to surrender to your present moment. Because at the end of the day, this present moment is the only moment that matters. Yes. There you go. Making synchronicities. Flex Washington. Love the High Priestess card. That's what I'm saying. When we're able to bring ourselves back to that space, all the answers, all the solutions, everything just gets worked out. It really does. If you can really just bring yourself to that stillness, to that knowing, to that inner self that is unbothered, unwavering, and it's always there for you. That's the beautiful thing. It's always there. It's never not there, right? But it's a choice for you to tap into it. If you want to end these mental rants, if you want to end this, emotional experience that you may be having, And you have to, because vibration is everything. Feeling good is the work. All right. And that's not to say that you're not going to have experiences in your everyday life that cause you to feel something like frustration, something like anger, right? But the way that we release, if y'all have not checked out my releasing dead energy guided meditation, go check that out. But the way that we release is through that presence, right? Okay? If you're still resisting, you haven't released. If you haven't applied that peaceful presence to your situations, then you're still going to be dealing with those situations, right? The solutions aren't coming to you as quickly as they should be. Why? Because you're trying to use logic, reason, thought to actually overcome these situations, and it doesn't work like that. You receive answers through that peaceful presence. That's why whenever you are being triggered, it is not a good idea to immediately respond in a situation. That's why I specifically said in the last video, whenever you are triggered, take a moment before reacting. And this is a practice. This is something that you have to choose. It's something that you have to work at. Because when you take that moment, hell, when you take that moment, you allow your true self, your inner self, your divine self to come up into you, to come up through you, and not into you because it's always into you, but you allow your truth to actually be what you communicate, not your past habits. Come on, y'all. We be responding and reacting out of past habits. God's respond. I love that. I love that. Right? And in order for a God to respond, God has to allow, himself or herself to open up and give enough space, because God is space. God is opportunity. God is expansion. So you need space, y'all. That's what the cosmos is, infinite space, right? That's what we're striving for in meditation. Whenever we are meditating, we're striving for space between our thoughts. We're striving for that infinite possibility, right? In between our thoughts. That's what we're actually striving for, space. Space between each thoughts, right? And so when we allow ourselves to take space, then we allow our truth, our answers to come up, because our truths are always changing, right? How we want to respond in situations is not the same that we responded in 2019. It's not the same that we responded from the time of 2010 to 2020, right? Going into, as we are rising in consciousness, we have a greater understanding of how we are to be moving as gods and goddesses. We have a greater understanding of that, but in order for us to move in that way, we got to break old habits. We have to surrender old habits. We can't judge ourselves based off of these old habits, right? We have to give space. We have to tap back into that peaceful presence, that space. And again, one way that you can do that is by tapping into your senses, because the senses is going to snap you out of thought, right? Or it's going to have you focused on one thing, okay? And again, that's like a goal in meditation. You want to focus on one thing. You focus on one thing, eventually you'll zone out and the thoughts will stop happening. You'll just be there existing. That's the goal. Bringing yourself to that peaceful presence will allow you to surrender ego, what you think you know, who you think you are, what you think you want to experience. Now, as I'm saying all of this to you, these are all revelations that I'm having. These are all revelations that I'm having in my experience, you know? That's what's happening with me. I'm like, okay, it's okay for me to feel this way. It's okay for me to feel this way. And I know that me feeling this way does not define me or make me to be this type of person or that type of person. What I do know now is that I want to respond from a place of love, greater love, higher consciousness love, not like, I love you, so I want you to do this, or you supposed to love me, so I want this or that, or I love doing this, so it's supposed to act like this. But purity, just the pureness. I want everybody to experience just pure, unconditioned, divine, sacred love. And that comes in all experiences. Hell, that can be somebody that you're dealing with at the grocery store that you don't even know who this person is, right? There's a way to do that, okay? And so we have to transform from doing and having to just being. And it's going to take us practicing. It's really going to take us practicing surrendering, you know? Surrendering what, this mental rat race, and just be. Just be. Let the experiences happen and then just be. You know what I mean? Like, it's all good. We got to end it. We got to end it as quickly as possible. I just told you some ways that we do that. Anyways, surrender these fear-based thoughts. Surrender these dead things that are no longer serving you. That's why I created the guided meditation, releasing dead energy, right? But you can't release something that you haven't acknowledged or addressed or made peace with. You got to make peace with it, right? You gotta know intuitively and internally and subconsciously that you've actually learned the lesson. You understand what this person, what this situation, what this experience has come to teach you before you can actually release it. And again, that comes from surrendering. That comes from tapping into that peaceful presence, because you're not going to get the real answers to the stuff that goes on in our everyday life. You're not going to get those answers by thought, because it doesn't work like that. Like that continuous thought, that's logic, and you cannot logically reason with the experiences that you've had, the people that you've dealt with, right? The job that you've been in. You cannot logically reason with it. If you're continuously logically reasoning with it of why you are there, then you're missing the whole point, because everything is spiritual first, right? So in order for us to release dead energy, we have to surrender to what is and allow our spirit, our higher selves, God, to channel to us its whole purpose. Once we understand the purpose and we make peace with what we've learned from these situations, from these people, from these circumstances, now we can actually release that dead energy. But there's two things you definitely got to do. You can't resist it. You can't resist the experience, right? You can't deny the experience. You can't push away, push down, throw away. That never happened. Whatever the experience, the person, whatever, you can't do that. You have to release the resistance to it. Accept. And then you want to apply your essence, your God essence to that thing, to that person, to that situation. When you do that, now we can release and let it go, right? Because you've received the spiritual downloads as to what is, right? All right, y'all, that's the end of my rant on surrendering, how to surrender. 2 ways to surrender. I'm pretty sure there's more, but this is just what came to my mind. Yeah, surely you can end some of these, thoughts that we impose upon ourselves, some of these emotions that we put upon ourselves based off of expectations, false expectations that we have. False expectations that we have of other people, and false expectations that we have of ourselves. You're not going to reprogram your mind in 1 day. You're not going to create a new habit in 10 days. It takes continuous work and a lack of resistance, right? I know it's the new year and y'all be all having y'all goals, and I'm new year, new me, and I'm doing this and this and this and this. I feel you. But trust me, if you come up short, release the resistance to it. Be in the experience. Learn from the experience. Surrender to what the experience is. Because if you resist the fact that you are not living up to this new expectation that you've set for yourself, you're going to continue to fail. It just is what it is. Okay? So surrender. 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 Come to your peaceful presence. Love you guys. Peace. Check out my guided meditation for releasing dead energy. It is amazing. And I'm grateful. Y'all be grateful. See y'all on the next one.